Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for choosing to end day one of Trailhead DX with me. I hope everyone has had an awesome day so far. How many people is it their first time at Trailhead DX? Awesome. So I really appreciate you joining us at Trailhead DX and also choosing to spend your time with me here on how to deliver an awesome Salesforce demo. So who am I and how am I talking about how to deliver awesome demos? My name is Leanne Reimel. I am our principal admin evangelist at Salesforce, and I've been delivering some form of Salesforce demos for my entire career, so about 12 years on the platform. When I was a customer, I was a Salesforce admin and database analyst, and I had to deliver demos in order to get budget and in order to get executive buy-in. When I joined Salesforce 10 years ago, I joined in customer success, and I delivered demos as an adoption and a training tool for our customers to help them learn about different features and help them troubleshoot features. I spent 5 years as a sales engineer, where maybe many of you have been a part of sales engineering cycles with Salesforce. We deliver a lot of demos to show our customers or future customers kind of the vision of Salesforce based on what we know about their company. And the last 5 years, I have been delivering demos in the form of keynotes at Trailhead DX and at Dreamforce, both building and clicking and speaking to them, and also webinars and a lot of demo content. So the long and short of that is that I spend a lot of time thinking about demos and thinking about how people take in that information and why people are watching demos and what they want to get out of it. Let's make sure my clicker is working. So the first thing to think about when we deliver demos is it's not just clicking around a screen. I think we've all seen demos like that, and we've probably all delivered demos like that in some form. But demos are more than just showing someone everything that's in an app that you built, or that's in a component that you built, or that's in a tool that you're looking to use, right? There's an art to demoing in a way that gets you to the end goal of that demo. And so there's some steps we're going to talk about how you identify that. The first is identifying that goal. So if we're going into any presentation, right, we want to know what's our desired outcome of that presentation. And demos are no different. Technical demos are no different. Why are we demoing? We also want to think about when we're building that demo and delivering that demo, who is our audience? Because the audience changes, and we're going to talk about how do you prioritize your audience and really put their perspective at the center of how you're building a technical demo. Then we're going to talk about some logistics of building your demo. There's some tried and true formulas that are really handy for building both the foundation of your demo and for kind of auditing what's in your demo. And then we're going to talk about some kind of game day logistics. How do you deliver your demo effectively? So I'm going to share some behind the scenes tips from doing product launches and Salesforce keynotes, things that we've learned and that we want to share with you that help make sure your demo that you've worked so hard on really lands. So let's talk first about why we demo. When we demo to our audience, we sit down, we might be on a webinar, we might be in a meeting with 5 people, we might be in a presentation with 500 people, and we're excited to show them something, right? Like we're sitting there with them because we're excited to show them something, maybe something we built, maybe something we just discovered. And sometimes we can get really excited when we're building this demo or clicking through this demo, and we start adding things. Maybe we say first, okay, I really want to show this audience how they set up a tool. Maybe I have an audience of admins and developers, and I say, I really want to show them kind of the new Flow Builder UI. I want to show them this piece. I want to show them setup. But there's things that I'm excited about. I get excited about product. I nerd out on things that I've built or that I've participated in or that I'm using. So we start adding things in. Let me show you this cool Lightning component I built. Let me just throw this in here. I just want to show you this cool thing that I built also. Maybe I've got sales users in the audience too. They don't know what components are. That's not something that's necessary for their day-to-day. But I'm going to show them that. And maybe I keep adding things in. Maybe I've got communities features that I'm excited about as a developer, as an admin. And what can happen is we can start to get really disconnected from our audience when we kind of keep throwing stuff in. An analogy that I use, I joke that I'm very bad at car analogies. My colleague, Mike Gerhold, is very into cars, and he uses a lot of car analogies, so sometimes I try to meet him with the car analogies and use my own. My car analogies are terrible, but I'm going to use one right now. So I was buying a car like 5 years ago. It was my first car that I'd bought. And I knew the things that I wanted. I knew that I wanted Bluetooth so I could listen to my podcasts. I wanted heated seats because I lived somewhere very cold. I was living in Chicago, so I was like, I need heated seats. And I wanted a sunroof so I could open the sunroof when I chose to. Those were like kind of the main things that I cared about at that time when I was looking at features for cars. And I go to the car dealership, and the guy is showing me like all the new things on the engine of this car, and he's like telling me like the differences between the two car options, and I'm like, dude, like I don't really care like what the tire tread or whatever it is you're telling me, and it's not, I just don't care. It's not a thing that I care about. It's not core to like how I was making that purchasing decision. I was confident that all the cars they had were like decent cars that would drive from point A to point B. I cared about the features that I had told him I wanted for my life, right? But he was telling me all these things that just weren't part of my decision-making process. And sometimes we do that with our demo audience, right? Sometimes we show them all these things that they really haven't told us that they care about those things. And so it's important to really focus on our audience when we're thinking about the demo. Because when we do that, then we help drive to understanding, right? When we're really focusing on the audience and we're not just telling them a bunch of stuff that we think is cool or that the industry is talking about or that other developers are talking about, if we're focusing and centering our audience, then we get to a place of common understanding. So the first step in doing that and to making sure we're getting to that common understanding is really clearly identifying why are we demoing. And also finding opportunities to demo. I think that it's important when you think about delivering technical demos to deliver the best possible technical demo you can in the situations where you've been asked to demo. But also there's a lot of opportunities to use a technical demo in situations where maybe people haven't asked for that, but you can look at the situation and say, okay, well I've been asked to do project updates, or I've been asked to deliver end user training. This might be a space where a technical demo would meet that need, and so I'm going to be proactive and I'm going to suggest that, or I'm going to try to carve out time to do that. So I mentioned user adoption and training. As admins, as developers, as app builders, often we're responsible for our app adoption, for our user adoption, for end user training, especially of maybe new features or tools that we're rolling out. And demos are a great way to drive adoption. They're a great way to drive understanding with your users, especially when you're doing them thoughtfully. Much more so, I would always rather do a great technical demo than make my users read like a 3-page PDF on how they should convert a lead, right? Because that's not really beneficial for either of us. That's not going to help them get to understanding, and it's much more fun to put together a technical demo than a bunch of training documentation in that way. We also use it for project updates. It's a great place, especially if you're owning like an implementation project or re-implementation, you're rolling new business groups onto Salesforce, whatever it is you're working on. It's a great way to provide updates to show, hey, here's what we built so far. And so you might be asked to demo in those situations, but it's important to be thoughtful about how you're demoing, because you might show them the screens that you've built, but if you haven't done it in a thoughtful way, and if you're maybe kind of missing the mark, like that might be a miscommunication and alignment opportunity, and people might not really understand what you're working on because they didn't understand your demo. We also use it for executive sponsorship. I mentioned when I was a customer, demos were pretty important to my job, even though I was a DBA and Salesforce admin at the time, because that was how I got my executives excited about giving me more money for my Salesforce project. Like that was what I needed. I wanted them to not only be excited about allocating investment in the project, but also be excited about driving executive sponsorship, excited about driving adoption with their groups, right? So I wanted to show them what it could do. Encouraging innovation. So if you're maybe presenting internally or presenting to your peers, other developers, other admins, other app builders, it's a great way to, if you're like tinkering with a new API or tinkering with different parts of the app, it's a great way to get your peers or other people you're presenting to excited and encourage innovation, both internally and externally at your companies. User group presentations. How many people here have presented at like their developer group or user group? Awesome. User groups, if you want to get better at presenting and to connect with other Salesforce professionals, user groups are a wonderful place to present apps that you're building, because it's beneficial to your peers, to your developer group meetup, to your user group meetup. It's also going to help your demo skills, because practice makes you better. And job interviews. A lot of job interviews require technical demos. If you're applying for a job for a solution architecture role or sales engineering or many consulting company roles, often a demo, they might give you a case study and you might need to present on that. And so if that's kind of something that's part of that job description and part of the role that you're applying for, it's a good skill to have to be competent at that. And even if it's not a job that's like a customer-facing job that requires demos, if you're applying for a purely technical position and you want to show your work, even if the job isn't like a presenting job, it's still really important to be able to properly showcase your work so you get the full kind of gravitas and credit for the work that you're sharing. So we talk a lot about tech, right? Like we're at a tech company, we're at a developer conference, at a tech conference. But the most important thing to remember is that your demo is not about technology. And this is really hard to kind of get in your brain if you're a technologist, if you're someone who lives and breathes on the platform, or any platform really. If you live and breathe in technology and you get excited about things you're building, it's really easy to lead with that when you're presenting. But especially when you're presenting to people who are not in the same role as you, for people who might be business users, executive sponsors, hiring managers, your demo is fundamentally about people. So thinking about your presentation, your technical demo, you have to center the people that you're presenting to and not just look at, oh, hey, look at all these great features and great tools that I've got, right? So it's a really hard habit to break. I struggled with breaking it. I mean, when I first started doing a lot of demos, I was like, oh, let me show you all these cool features. Let me click around the screen and show you all the things I'm excited about. But that's a really great way to lose your audience, right? So you got to focus on centering your audience. So I mentioned the audience, some examples of audiences that you'd be presenting to or should be trying to present to. End users, we talked about driving adoption, using it for training. And I mentioned adoption and training separately because it's a great way to say, hey, here's this new lead convert process. I'm going to show you this as a way for you to understand how to follow the process. But also, most of your users probably don't know about kind of the full expanse of the platform that they can use, no matter what you've implemented for them. So even if you've implemented standard functionality, if you've got a bunch of cool custom components, custom tools that you've built out for them, a lot of users kind of often use what's right in front of them, and there may be cool features, core or things that you've built that they might not be aware of. So it's a great way to help them discover those features by showing them, hey, did you know you could close your deals without having to go through all these extra steps? Things that are desirable to them to do. So it's a great way to drive both adoption and training. I mentioned demoing to your stakeholders. So thinking about what is their goal, what do they want to get out of that? If you're on a project and you've got various stakeholders, they might be representing different business groups, things like that. Thinking about what are their goals in that meeting, or what are their goals with this element of the project. Demoing to developers and demoing to admins. So if you identify as a developer, I suggest you demo to your admins. If you identify as an admin, I suggest you demo to your developers. It's a great way to share functionality that you might be working with on both sides and to drive more communication across your groups. Also, hiring managers, we talked about how often you'd be demoing in a candidate process for a job interview process, and project leads. So let's talk about building your demo. There's a formula that is pretty foolproof for any technical demo that you do, and this is a formula that can be used to build the foundation of your demo and should also be used to audit your demo. Wait, don't take your pictures just yet. I'm going to add more stuff to the slide. I'll tell you when to take your picture. And that formula is business need plus feature plus impact. This means that everything you're showing should be tied, this is why we start with audience. Everything you're showing should be tied to some sort of business need that you have identified with that audience, whether it's a business need that they told you or a business need that you've identified. Now you think about what are those features? What are those actual elements on the screen that they need to see? What are those tools that I've built? What are those core features? What are those pieces of the technology? This is the features where we get into the tech part. So that part is about the technology. What are those core features that tie to that business need? And impact, what does it mean for them? You can show somebody cool features all day, cool components you built all day, cool dashboards that you built all day. But I mean, we all kind of care, we pay more attention to presentations that are going to benefit us personally, right? And so how does this impact the people in the room? How does this impact the people in your audience? So an example, if we were to run through this formula, would be, say you've identified sales user adoption. It's a very simple example. Sales user adoption is a business need that you've identified, or maybe you've been asked to help grow sales user adoption. So you might sit down and identify, okay, here's a few key features that I know will help drive sales user adoption. Maybe they all have mobile devices. We've got company issued mobile. They're not using mobile enough, so maybe let's get them more ramped on mobile. Highlighting the new opportunity workspace, because maybe you still see that your sales users are going back to email and they're sending their emails in their Gmail, and you're like, okay, I think there's some stuff I could show them that would make their life a little easier. And analytics. Maybe you know that your sales users, this is something that they're all about crushing their number. You know that this is something that they're going to care about. And so you kind of highlight these areas. Okay, here's the features that tie to that business need, the things that my sales users care about. And you show them not just those features, but you also show them what the impact is of using those features. So how is this going to impact their career, their life, their day-to-day? So here's the picture time. I'm not going to add anything else to the slide. And this is a really useful formula, both for starting with the foundation of a technical presentation, so sitting down and identifying what are those business needs I'm identifying. Because you can have this occur multiple times in a technical presentation. Maybe you've got like 4 key business needs that you want to solve in the presentation, right, and that you've identified. And you can go through for each of those. How are we going to make sure we solve for each of these? But it's also an auditing tool. Because if you're going through, remember that first slide with like all the stuff on the screen? If you're going through your demo and you've built a bunch of stuff into your technical demo and your presentation, you've got this really beautiful 45-minute technical demo, and you go through and you look at what you're planning to show, if you can't identify this for every single screen you're showing, you shouldn't be showing it. If you can't say, why am I showing this screen? Why am I showing this feature to the people in the room? Then you shouldn't be showing it. You should take that out of your demo. So it's a good auditing tool as well, because it's a great chance to lose the attention of your audience. There we go. Next click. Okay, so let's talk about some step-by-steps of building your demo. Don't demo in production. Just please don't do it. I can tell you so many horror stories. Just don't demo in production. It's like generally never a good idea. The good places to demo are maybe your sandbox, or your scratch org, a developer environment, a pre-release developer environment. But just don't ever, just as a general rule, even if you're like, oh, there's only gonna be a couple people in the room, it's fine, because you're gonna wanna click around and show them things maybe, right? You don't wanna be messing with your production data. Like there's tons of reasons, just don't demo in production as a general rule. Hide your sensitive data. So this means a few things. Hiding sensitive data means, of course, you wanna make sure that you're always security compliant and that you're not advertising things on your screen, even if there's people in the room that would technically have access to that data. But it means kind of taking an extra few steps to think about who are the people in the room and what could be considered sensitive data. So of course, like any customer-specific information, things like that, you would probably, we use the term boof, but like you would kind of make it different data, like in your sandbox, or make it dummy data, or make it something, kind of fudge the data so it's something different. But also, think about who's in your audience. If you're doing like a sales user adoption and you are doing a prezo for your sales users out of your sandbox that you've just spun up, that's a fresh sandbox with real data, maybe you don't want to have like Larry at the very bottom of the dashboard when you're talking about analytics, because that might be distracting the people in the room, or you might kind of like lose people in the room. So just thinking about who's going to be in the room, what could be considered sensitive data. Maybe you're not going to show like a red account as your example. Maybe show things that'll make people in the room feel more positive, right? So just thinking about what could be considered sensitive for the room will make you lose the room. And I mentioned planning around your audience. I think that's really important. I think that that's a way to target the screens you're showing, target the features you're showing around who is in your audience. So if you want to demo some great analytics, and you've got sales users in the room, demo dashboards that they would care about. If you're demoing to a sales executive, demo a dashboard that's with hierarchy reports, and it's like territory reports and things that are at the level that they would care about. So these all seem like kind of small cosmetic things, but these are things that can make people feel more engaged. I've been in meetings and done demos for customers where that is the thing, because they see themselves in the demo, right? They're like, oh, I want this exact dashboard. And that's what you want, right? Like if you're trying to drive adoption, if you're trying to get kind of buy-in from the people in your room, you want people to say, oh, this looks like what I want. Can you make me this exact thing, right? So as much as you can tailor it for who's in the room is great. So planning around your audience. And preloading everything you can. I don't care if you've been touch typing for 30 years and you can type your password forward or backward 10 times fast without looking at your keyboard. When you're in front of a bunch of people and you get logged out of your environment, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna mistype this like 7 times. So anything that you can preload, whether that's using, there's Keyboard Maestro, which is actually what we use. So this is like insider tip, it's what we use for Keynote sometimes. Keyboard Maestro is a great tool for preloading if you're going to have like a lot of text entered, or things like chatter posts, or even if you're going to be entering like formulas. Just things that'll help you kind of stay on track for what your presentation is. Bookmark links. So for demos, one of the reasons it's nice if you're not demoing in production and don't have any sensitive data is you can make one of those like login bookmark links that just has your username and your password, and you can log right into your demo environment if you do get logged out. Just kind of planning ahead, anything that you can preload, whether that's bookmarking important tabs you're going to go to, opening those tabs up in advance, having all of your text copied down so you're not like on the fly trying to type out a complex formula and then messing up your paragraphs and then people in the room stop paying attention. Just anything you can preload, definitely preload. And I mentioned dummy data a minute ago. So dummy data is data that is on the screen and in your demo environment that is not real. So it's fun stuff that you get to make up. But it's more than just filling the screen up. I see a lot of technical demos where there's like nothing on the screen. It's like a ton of empty fields. The screen's not full. There's just like one row that's supposed to show me, oh, okay, like that we did import with that tool that we just used. And it's not very engaging, right? And it's a really missed opportunity to help communicate with your audience even more, because really the screens that just like right now I'm speaking to you with my voice, and I also have slides, right? Like it's another channel to communicate with your users. And your screens in your technical demo are another channel to communicate with your users. So think about how to personalize that to your audience. It might be having a fun domain, or having data on the screen that is relevant to like the region that they're in, making sure your currencies are correct. Like all of these things, like we do this when I go to London, I change the currencies, I change the region, I try to make it more relevant to them. I think it's a nice way to also showcase UI elements. So there might be things in your demo that you're not going to be highlighting verbally, but you want people to understand what the page is supposed to be doing, right? Or what the screens are supposed to be doing, what pieces on the page are supposed to be doing, even if it's not like a key part of your demo. You don't want there to be confusion about, well, what do you put on the right panel if you've got like a screen that's got or a lightning page that's got like nothing in the right panel of your Lightning template, right? So you want to think about it as a way to showcase UI elements. So if you've got a great image component that maybe isn't the highlight of your demo, but it's something that is in your org that your users are using, throw an image on the record that you're going to show, right? Like make sure that you're kind of having the page operate in the way that you would like it to operate for them, and use it as another way to communicate with your users, because it becomes kind of another channel. So I mean, it seems simple, but I've been doing presentations where there's things that our customers or our prospects never even told us that they needed. It wasn't something that came up in discovery. It wasn't like a pain that they had articulated to us, but we would have something as simple as like a next steps field, which comes standard on the opportunity object, right? And we'd make sure to have good notes in there for next steps. And we'll be in a meeting, and I've had someone say, oh, well, that's awesome. We can use that next steps field, and that's where we can put notes, because right now we're like sending each other, the notes or whatever, and it's like no one ever knows what the next thing is for an opportunity. It'll kind of meet those needs. So it's often an opportunity to help your users kind of understand, or your audience understand, how the page can be used. So dummy data is great. So we've got an example here on the bottom right. If we go back, this is an opportunity that kind of has nothing in it. Right? It's like, okay, here's an opportunity page, but there's not really, there's path, but there's no notes, there's no contact roles, there's no kind of coaching there for how I should use this page. And so even something as simple as, as I do a presentation on presenting, I get off my slides. Okay, so even as something simple as, there we go, adding activities to fill up that space so people can understand how they would use that space, making sure you had contact roles, making sure you had notes. This is a very simple example, but this is the mentality that you should apply to every screen you're showing to your audience for any technical demo. And adding those can help them understand how are they meant to use the parts of the app that you're showing them. Whether you're doing a heavy programmatic demo, whether you're doing a core, kind of standard features demo, it doesn't really matter. The same principles can be applied everywhere that you're doing a technical demo. So how do we make sure we don't mess it up? Practice. We practice a lot. We often have people come up and ask us, like after keynotes and things like that, oh, don't you get nervous up there, like clicking through the demo and things like that? And it's like, Yeah, we do. I will admit we do. Of course we get nervous. Like, we value our time with you as an audience, like choosing to come to our presentations. Like, I want to treat that with a lot of respect. So of course we get nervous and we think about that. We want to make sure we're making your time, spending your time valuably. But also, we practice a lot. There should be no surprises, especially, this goes up with the level of demo or presentation that you're doing. So, the more important it is, if it's something that you're not going to get a second pass at, right? If it's something that is like an important, a job interview, an important stakeholder presentation that you've got kind of one go at, you should really practice a lot, both for your speaking portion and slides and things like that, but definitely your demo. You should never be clicking on anything in a technical demo or like executing anything in a technical demo that's like the first time you've done that thing, right? That's like, just as a general rule, don't do that. It's a bad idea. Because pretty much anything that can go wrong in a technical demo will go wrong. So practice a lot. And how do we practice? We write out our ClickPath, and everyone does this differently. I'll share at the end, I've got a template of how we write out ClickPaths and that I've created of how I think about steps of a demo. But it can be whatever works for you, but you should write it out. But then you should write it out and memorize it and not look at it during your demo. So you should know where you're going to click, though, and really be intentional about what screens you're going to go to. Are you going to go to swipe to different workspaces? What browsers are you going to be in? What tools you're going to be in? Because that'll also help you plan for your demo to make sure like you've got the right tabs open, you've got the right screens open, you know what direction you're going to be swiping on your workspaces, so you're not like going back and forth or trying to alt-tab between a whole bunch of different apps to find where you're supposed to be in your demo. So write it out, practice it, rehearse it as many times as you can. Record it. Again, if it's like a bigger, like a more important demo, if it's your Dreamforce presentation or you're presenting a session that you want to kind of continue presenting, recording is a wonderful tool. So you can use like any of the tools that you have on your machine, even just like QuickTime video, it doesn't matter. Do a recording, capture the audio too. Like, think about what you would say on each screen, and then go back through and just watch it and see, I really spent a long time on this part of the screen. This was kind of boring. Maybe I should like tighten up the talk track there. This screen was kind of ugly. There's really nothing on it. It'll help you, once you record it, it'll help you both see how long you're taking and also find out where you can tighten it up. Test it with an audience. Share it, if you can get your family and friends to watch your technical demos, more power to you. I think my husband is kind of sick of mine. But like, if you go through, like, test it with an audience, and even if it's someone who's not in the Salesforce ecosystem or doesn't like do the same work you do, depending on who your end user audience is, if you're doing something like a stakeholder presentation, or if you're presenting to people who aren't, in technical roles, then it can be better to present to people in your life that aren't in technical roles. Like, you want an audience, a test audience that is close to your audience. And think about what those questions are that they ask. Like, ask them what questions they had, or where, maybe they didn't understand what you were saying, or where they want to stop you and ask a question, because that might be areas that you can offer more clarity. Zooms. Zooming is, what's the Spider-Man thing? With great power comes great responsibility. Zoom is a wonderful tool to use. It's a great kind of to help draw your eye to a part of the screen. However, it should not just be done willy-nilly. It will make your audience seasick if you're like zooming in and out and you're doing browser zoom. Like, don't ever use the browser zoom, or don't recommend it at least. We use accessibility zoom. So if you're projecting like this, you can use accessibility zoom. I've got it in the blog that I'll share at the end, but it's just, that's what I definitely recommend. But also plan where you're gonna zoom. So you should know, I'll say for all the demos that we do, I know like where my mouse is going to be, on which word, on which letter, on which part of the letter my mouse is going to be before I zoom. Because otherwise you get the thing where you zoom, and then, oh man, but part of the field name is cropped out, so then you gotta zoom back and you move your mouse and you zoom back in, and your audience doesn't like that. I don't like that. So just think about where you're gonna move your mouse. Like, that's the level of planning that we do for our Dreamforce demos, for example, or our session demos, is where we know exactly where we're gonna zoom, how long we're gonna do that for, and it's a good practice to get into, but if you don't feel comfortable zooming or you don't practice it, just don't do it. It's better to not do it than to do it poorly. And also know where you're gonna click. So I said no surprises. Know exactly where you're gonna click, where you're gonna move your mouse, where you're gonna type for your whole demo. So if you do some demos and you're like, oh, I know I wanna show them opportunities, or I wanna show them a report, you're like, I'm just gonna click into this report here. Let's see what's on this screen, right? that's like a great way to kind of derail your presentation. A handy little trick is adding an asterisk to the records you're going to click into. It's a silly little thing. It totally works. I still do it sometimes. But know exactly what record you're going to click into. Know exactly what you want to talk about on each screen. It's a great way to kind of make sure that, again, you don't lose your audience, right? You want to respect your time with them, and you want to make sure you kind of keep it all on the rails. So know where you're going to click. So let's talk about delivering our demo. This is a little bit of my pre-flight checklist. My team can tell you I am extremely obnoxious about restarting your computer. Every time anybody that I work with is ever like, oh, well, this isn't working well, I'm like, have you restarted your computer? 3 times? Restart your computer definitely on days you're going to do a presentation. You should restart your computer regularly, as I tell my team all the time, as I tell everybody I work with. Restart your computer regularly, make sure you're keeping all your apps up to date, but definitely on the day you're going to be presenting. And make sure you check, and this seems like silly stuff, but it'll get you. Check for any updates that are happening. Like, you don't want to get, oh, dang it, now I'm getting like some push update that's happening in my laptop. So restart your machine always the day of the demo, and any apps that you're using. So like I restart Chrome like 4 times a day, and I definitely restart it before I do demos. So just kind of think about having a nice, fresh workspace, right? You don't want to have a bunch of junk in there. Turn off your notifications. If you've got a Mac, you can do Not Disturb, but also just in general, like if you have anything that has, some apps have like very bold push notifications that don't always follow Do Not Disturb, just turn off notifications for everything and quit all non-essential apps, because that'll help you avoid that problem too. Clean your desktop. No one wants, ideally you're probably not showing your desktop in a demo, but you want to plan for something to go off the rails. Like something always goes wrong in pretty much every presentation, so it's better to plan for that. And so make sure you clean your desktop. I am a fan of having nothing on a desktop at all. I just put it all in a folder. If I've got stuff I'm working on my desktop, just put it in a folder. Just get it out of the way. Don't have like a really distracting background image on your desktop, things like that. Just have like kind of a nice clean house and assume that, oh man, everything's going to quit out and I'm going to have to like refind my window, or I'm going to have to like alt tab to something else, or I'm going to accidentally minimize my Chrome screen. Just assume that those things are going to happen, and have your environment set up in a way that'll make it easy to recover. And so also quitting all non-essential apps. If something's not relevant to what you're showing, just quit it. Like I quit out even of like my backup and sync and things like that. Like just quit it. Just quit everything that doesn't have to do with your demo. Oh, and browser. I share this in the blog at the end as well, but I'm a big fan of using Chrome People for all demos. It's a great way to kind of have a nice clean space. So if you go into Chrome and there's like the People menu item, and you can just create whole new Chrome users, and you wouldn't log into like your Google profile with it, just whole new Chrome users, and it's kind of like creating a brand new like incognito user, but it's like not incognito because it's like this whole new user, right? So it doesn't inherit any of like your bookmarks or your history or caching, anything like that. And then you can save like your logins to your org, and you can kind of have this nice fresh place with no extensions, no bookmarks, nothing. I'm a big fan of using Chrome People for pretty much everything. So let's take a look. We have to demo during the demo session. It's like required. So I'm ready to show you like a great technical demo. Let's see, I'm going to open up yet another tab. Cool, I'm not logged into my org yet. My screen's not full screen. Can you even see this, kind of? Okay, let's log in. It's going to take a second because I'm not already logged in. So this is, okay, I'm not even on the screen that I'm planning on showing you guys. So let's try to get to that. I'll go to my sales app. So let's see an example of things that I have actually seen and probably done myself of a demo. So this is the home page. Let's look at an opportunity, your sales users. I'll show you an opportunity. If you want to open an opportunity, there's an opportunity tab. And we've got, let's see, maybe we can look at this. Oops, no, but I wanted to show you the whole thing. Nope, oh, hold on. Nope, crap, hold on, almost. Oh, there we go, okay, yeah, there we go. Now you can see the drop down. Got it? Cool. Okay, so, there's not a ton of data on this page because let's see, we've got a whole bunch of empty fields. But it looks like we've got some nice duplicate opportunities here. Let's see, do you guys want to see an opportunity? Maybe we'll just click, let's try this one. Sure, we can try that one. I'm not sure what's on it. Okay. Well, so this is where you would add activities. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty distracting, right? You're probably just like trying to figure out what all of my things are on the side here. What are all these things I've got on my desktop? Or what are all these bookmarks and tabs I have? We can open our Game of Thrones wiki. We could do that. I've got it bookmarked and open already. Yeah, MySpace is still active. I found that out today, actually, when I was prepping for this. I didn't know. So this isn't like a super engaging, right? Like when you go through these screens, and it's like, okay, well, I closed a deal. Cool. Like that's kind of, it's distracting looking around the page. But it's also like, what did I really show you, right? Like, here's a screen. Like, there you go. So let's take a look. Oh, isn't this so peaceful? Look at how peaceful. So when we log into Salesforce, our users are first going to be greeted by their homepage. You've customized this as the app builder at your organization with some standard functionality and some custom functionality. That's exactly what they need when they log in. Your sales users, so you want to work with your opportunities, and you can get your opportunities and your favorite list of opportunities with just one click. Now we've got a ton of data on this page, and we can wrap text, we can resize the columns, we can make this page work for us. And we can engage actively with these opportunities. You as sales users can not only view all of your deals from this page, but you can also do things like see which ones need tasks added, need reminders, need follow-up calls. You can update the stages. You can do everything you need to do to be effective on this page. And we can click into one of these opportunities. And this is the space where you can connect with your customers because we can see all of the activities for the customers. This means that you as a sales user didn't have to go to your email. You didn't have to go to other places to connect with the customers to schedule follow-ups. We can track all of our meeting notes in one place. And we can engage with this account and close it and win this account. So what would you say are some things that didn't go so hot on that first demo as audience members? What are some things that maybe you noticed? I had to log in, right? And I had like a weird cat home screen. I don't even know what extension that was. What else? A lot of distractions, right? There's like a lot of stuff on the screen. Yeah, what was I talking about? I was just like showing you stuff, right? So there's some key fundamentals when you think about delivering a technical presentation. The first is audience engagement. You didn't know what I was talking about. Why was I talking to you about like logging in? I logged into setup, like what? So as a technical presenter, you want to set expectations. Here's what I'm going to show you, and here's why it's important to you. You want to confirm that they're on the same page with you, that they are understanding as you go through. Hey, does this look like does this look like something you'd use? Is this a chart that matches what you told me you needed to see about your deals? And you're kind of the tour guide. I mentioned we were at London World Tour last week, and we did one of those double-decker bus tours, and we sat on the top. It was very sunny out, and there's like a lot going on in London. There's a lot of beautiful architecture, beautiful art. And the tour guide was, I know it's very touristy. I will admit that I do double-decker tours. But the tour guide was like, okay, at 3 o'clock, you'll see, this cathedral, right? And he told me where to look, and he was the tour guide so we could know what to focus in on. And so as a technical presenter, you can do that with your voice, and you can do that with Zoom, but it's okay to tell people, hey, on the upper right-hand corner, this is where you can access your favorites. So you're really the tour guide through your app, through your platform. Execute your plan. So I didn't do this just now in the bad part of the demo. I should have done it more. But slow down. Always go slower. Pause on the screens, especially when you're showing technical screens. So slow down as a speaker, but pause. Let people digest what's going on the screen. And mouse carefully. I see a lot of circling with the mouse. Don't ever circle it. If you need to circle with the mouse, learn how to zoom on that spot. But don't do the highlighting with the mouse and the circling with the mouse. It's very distracting. And also, I said everything goes wrong with demos. Things happen. And the more that you plan for that, it's like the law of the universe. It'll decrease how often they happen, but have backup plans. Have maybe screenshots, especially if it's a really important presentation, but maybe take a video of it. Have at least screenshots of what you want to show. Maybe have a backup org. Maybe have a different Chrome user with a different org with the same stuff you build. Depends like kind of the level of gravity of your demo, but have some sort of plan. Assume that things are going to get broken and go wrong. And talk through it. So if you're going to a presentation and the speaker gets up and you're really excited for this presentation, and the first thing she says is like, oh yeah, I had a sandwich for lunch just now and I spilled mustard all over my blazer. Like you're gonna be looking at that mustard the whole time. You're like, I can only see the mustard now. So sometimes when things go wrong in a demo, here's another kind of Salesforce keynote demo insider info. Sometimes things go wrong and you just talk through it. And you don't tell the audience that something went wrong. Now sometimes if you're getting like major like blinking 404 screens, you're gonna have to address it and figure out maybe we have to open up a different, switch machines or restart whatever it is you have to do to fix it. But if something little goes wrong, just talk through it because you can still help tell people the story of what's impactful to them. So you don't necessarily have to highlight, oh, yeah, my process was supposed to also do a chatter post in addition to the other things I showed you, and it didn't do that. Like, don't do that. You don't need to call out where things maybe didn't go just right, because it'll take away from the gravity of what you're sharing. So these are some resources. I mentioned like a template and some additional tools that we have. And this is something that you practice and rehearse and you read about, and I read and watch other people's demos. So it's something that's a continuous learning path. So I hope that you will check out our Trailhead module. It links to a lot of the content I mentioned that I built around templates. I've got a great podcast that Jillian Bruce and myself did where we talk about how you can kind of creatively think about demos and how they can drive adoption. And some of those tips are highlighted and really spelled out in our blog, in my blog, 5 Tips to Rock Your Next Demo. So I thank you all for spending your time with me on the end of your first day at TDX, and I hope you have a great rest of TDX, and that's all for our session. Thank you.